For years, many Nerfers have dreamed of the ultimate Nerf sniper rifle. And when I say Nerf sniper rifle, I'm thinking like a Barrett 50 cal, something like an anti-material rifle. The concept of it doesn't matter if the person has a shield, doesn't matter if they're a super zombie, doesn't matter if they're over 100 feet away, one shot, one tag. Now, when the Centurion came out, many people were like, that's the blaster. That's gonna be the massive sniper rifle. But as all of you know by now, the Centurion is not great. There's a few things you can do to it to make it decent, but it's a very complex system to work on, and the performance out of the package is just not anywhere near what it should be. So then Nerf released the Fortnite Heavy SR, and we were like, that's it, that's the thing. No, this isn't the thing. Because as we can see here, this barrel does not do this thing in any favors. The spring in here is very weak. It's just not what it should be. Fortunately, the 3D printed Nerf community has your back. Introducing the Moose, the Nerf sniper rifle we all deserve. In today's video, I'm gonna show you why I got a huge smile on my face. This thing is an absolute blast to play with. So let's jump into today's video. The Moose is a massive blaster. This is actually a Springer. This thing's packing a massive plunger tube with a massive spring. It looks like a full K25 in there. It's actual bolt action, which feels great. Magazine accepting, just a complete and total behemoth. Now this blaster was printed and built by Foamdemic and sent in for review. And if you're interested in picking up a Moose today, I'll leave a link in the description. And to see if you actually want to pick one of these up today, let's run through some tests. First off, let's check out the chronograph numbers. Now keep in mind, when I unboxed this thing, took it over to the chronograph, it wasn't shooting that hot, and it's because we had an air leak. Now this was a good learning experience because it showed me how easy it is to work on this blaster. Basically, you just have a takedown pin back here. All this stuff just comes apart, and I got access to the plunger tube system in which we had a leak. And so we just went in and used some silicone sealant in there, sealed it all back up, slapped it all back together, and this thing was slapping. We're talking over 150, 160 FPS, just absolutely terrifying for a Mega Dart. That leads us to our next test. Now I wanted to have a way to show all of you the true kinetic force of a Nerf dart. So we made this thing. Now on the channel, we've done a lot of chronograph readings off of blasters, but this doesn't really account for the true power of the Nerf dart. And what I mean by that is a smaller projectile to a larger projectile traveling at the same feet per second is not the same thing. In fact, it's way different. And to visualize this, we made this 5 clay pigeon holder. Now this test I wanna reserve for blasters that kind of go above and beyond normal blasters. You know, stuff from the 3D printed Nerf community and things that are just anything of the pro level that shoots, you know, short darts all the way up to, you know, Mega XL. We wanted to make a test that we could go back to and show, you know, basically compare across all the blasters, which one has the most destructive force. Now we're gonna start this test with the Heavy SR. My hypothesis is this will not do very good. And sure enough, as we can see here, it barely broke 1 clay pigeon. Now we have lower FPS on this thing. The darts are inaccurate. This thing can't make tags at 50 feet, and it can only break 1 pigeon at point blank range. So that's a good baseline. That shows you what Hasbro produces right out of the box. Plus, how are you gonna get a tag with this thing at, you know, 50 to 100 feet? You're not. So what's the point of calling it a sniper rifle? So with the Moose, this is where things get fun. This thing was able to punch through 4 clay pigeons. You know how much power that takes? Well, it takes a Mega Dart traveling at 160 FPS. That's what it takes. And for all of you out there that, you know, still are like, well, you know, the short dart is superior and, you know, it's a great dart. Yes, it is. But check this out. We fired a short dart at 200 FPS. It still only broke 2 pigeons. It just shows you the kinetic energy associated with larger projectiles. You imagine a Mega Dart traveling that fast? Imagine a Mega XL. Now, when looking at the Moose, there's several things I need to talk about. Number one, the pistol grip is really comfortable. This whole entire blaster, as it is extremely large and somewhat heavy, is actually balanced pretty nicely. The stock is very much adequate. There's a generous amount of Picatinny all over the blaster. This scope right here is, you know, for cosmetic purposes, you can remove it. I personally think it ties the overall look of this thing together and makes it look truly like an amazing, large and in charge sniper rifle. I really love this break. It looks super cool. I don't see any rifling or scar barrel in there. You can take this off by just twisting this. The only thing I do notice is there's a little bit of venting on the sides. I don't know if that helps with accuracy. I mean, it is kind of angled, or it just could be for cosmetic looks. All I know is this thing is actually very accurate at 50 feet.
Today we're going to be using AccuStrike Megas.
We shot this in our indoor range at 50 feet, and this thing was just a tack hammer. Now keep in mind, we are shooting AccuFakes, or just, you know, I highly recommend using the AccuStrike Mega Darts. The standard Mega Darts with the rounded heads are just not accurate. And to be honest, like, I'm almost half tempted to stop using the regular Mega Darts because, you know, when it comes to getting a Mega Tag, you really need to be accurate with those things. Now, one thing worth mentioning about the magwell and magazines and everything is I found you kind of have to rock the magazine to properly load it. Like that. You have a tendency to want to go straight up and down, but it just seems like you have less chance to get it hung up or anything if you rock it in. Oh, and if you saw that, yes, that's a skinny pusher. Absolutely love that this thing has a skinny pusher. I don't know why all blasters don't have that. So in closing, what do I think about the Moose? If you've gotten this far, you probably already know. I absolutely love it. It's just an absolute blast. Every time I fire this thing, I can't help but to smile. It's just so satisfying. When it starts to get warm and we have games in the summer, I can't wait to bring this to one of our future games. I'm gonna have to figure out how to downstep the spring so I'm within, you know, legal FPS limits. But is this gonna be so satisfying to deal with all those pesky shield players and also those super zombies? Once again, I wanna thank Foamdemic for sending this in. If you'd like to pick one of these up, link will be in the description. As always, be safe and happy foam flinging.